and used against my enemies, yeah. You see, you wanted to say.
Hello everyone, what is up? I'm Rob.
I'm Eamon.
It is Monster Fuzz. How are you doing today, Eamon?
Very well. And you?
Sweaty.
Et toi? You're sweaty.
Sweaty. It's quite warm in the house. It's in Ireland, it's kind of humid at the minute.
It is. It's like a balmy 14 degrees to
60 degree, yeah. No, 60 degree humidity, 60% humidity, sorry.
Excuse me, yes.
So it's kind of that like weird kind of weather. So it's a bit muggy.
Have you been sleeping outside the covers at all these days?
No, I don't.
I've been getting a bit too warm now.
I'm cold-blooded. I'm like a reptile. But also what I do, Eamon, is I have 2 duvets.
2 duvets?
No, so I have a winter duvet and a summer duvet.
Oh, and you switch them out, right?
So we just switched out recently to our summer duvet.
You've changed the flannel.
Changed the tog.
The tog?
That's what it is, yeah.
Wow.
So,
we have a flannel, which is quite nice for winter.
Flannel? What the fuck is a flannel?
Flannel duvet cover.
Pegs ears or something?
No, I just like even flow. Flannel cover. It's lovely. It's very warm and it sort of consolidates the heat quite nice. So for winter, it's a winter wonder blanket.
Summer
Sinister destroyer. If you want to lose weight while you sleep, wear your weighted flannel duvet cover.
Yeah. So speaking of, I suppose these old ladies would have been in flannel at one point or another, or some kind of headscarfy looking tartany thing, maybe.
Possibly.
What's the crack with it? It's witch trials, yeah.
The witch trials in Ireland. So I wasn't actually aware. I knew there was obviously European witch trials and Salem being the most famous of the witch trials, but I wasn't aware that Ireland actually had witch trials. It had very few, but it did have some nonetheless. So I went out to try and get a few bits and pieces. There was a really good article by Niamh Boyce for the Ireland Examiner.
Shouts out.
Where I got most of the notes for this, just to give credit for that. But no, it's a really interesting one, and it's also like we get into it a little bit in the notes, but Ireland isn't really known for persecution of women. Now, when I say that, I don't mean the big. I sort of realized that I need to not to the interesting take. Not to the same way where you had like hundreds of women killed for being witches in other countries. Whereas here, I think there's like 7 altogether. Now we're per capita, maybe that's actually more than Salem or whatever.
We also had the Magdalene laundries and things though, so
that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
That was pretty
so
bad.
We didn't necessarily
there is a mass burial of children's graves in Tuam as well.
We didn't necessarily need witch trials, is what I'm saying.
We didn't. We had enough problems. We had enough problems. Yeah, we said it doesn't matter if they're witches, kill these bitches. But the island itself,
right? Again,
and we get into it. It wasn't really known for that sort of thing, and actually, superstition and because of our pagan roots, the kind of more witchcraft thing, we didn't come from the Puritan era, so it was kind of like cures and all that sort of stuff was a very normal part of Irish life. Druid stuff, and just the poultice, all that sort of shit, like. All that sort of stuff would have been normal. So
folk remedy.
Sorry?
Folk remedies.
Folk remedies, exactly. It's interesting. But it's interesting. You see some of the history, especially the first kind of witch trial, which one we'll get into it. It shows you how convoluted these things can be, and actually sometimes there's sort of material reasons behind it, whereas this wouldn't have seemed to be the case in a lot of the American ones.
Sounds good. Before we get into it though, I'd like to remind everyone to check out our Patreon. It's the best way to support this show, and it helps us to continue to make these episodes. Not only does it help it out, but you get something out of it too. So you get your access to your Discord, you get your ad-free episodes and exclusive episodes. Now, what I will say is, for one, there's a huge back catalogue over on Patreon. It's like, probably a year's worth of listening if you listen to one a week. That's how many there is there. But also, one thing we need to start advertising more, and some people have been using it, and it's actually been quite good, and it's something that we would like to kind of chip in on more as well, is actually, if you listen on Spotify, me and Eamon were just discussing it before we started recording. It's starting to become a bit of a sort of a social network almost, where you guys can like directly outreach and comment on episodes, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But we get direct feedback and we can chat with you. So it's cool. And you can like leave your likes and your reactions and all that, I think. So it's nice. you know, if you want to head on over to Spotify, you can weigh in on episodes and say what you think or your favorite moments or whatever. So it's quite cool, actually. So just a little shout out. I thought that we do see you when you comment on there. It's quite a good feature, and we get it straight as a notification to our phone. So it's cool to see, and yeah, all outreach is appreciated, I suppose. Eamon, if they have any spooky stories, maybe they've been accused of being a witch, where did they write in?
If you have been ordered to recite the Lord's Prayer and you got through it and they said, darn, she mustn't be a witch at all, write in and tell us of your woes, monsterfuzzpodcast@gmail.com, and we will, as we always do, read everything out on a mini fuzz.
We do
be doing that.
We do be doing that. So, Eamon, if you want to give us a little quick intro here on what the crack is.
So, the European witch trials. Now, to be fair, I was thinking about this. This is really interesting, actually. The first Irish witch trial is in the 14th century, and the last one isn't until the 18th century. And there's only a handful. So it's a huge, long time, and only like a speckle of actual cases.
Potentially as well, though, what I will say is, and Irish people will probably know, the ones listening, is we did lose a lot of records in Ireland, so perhaps there was more.
That's true, yeah. And I think it might briefly touch on this, that we don't have a great...
No, for a lot of people that don't realise, well, there's two factors. One, we weren't great at keeping records, but the other factor, the other factor was that a lot of it was destroyed by the Brits.
When the Mongolians invaded, they burned our libraries of Alexandria.
No, but to be fair, yeah, a lot of our records were gone. But as far as I'm aware, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Now, I may be wrong on this one. I'm fairly sure in the past I read somewhere, though, that it was actually the Brits that made us start keeping records.
That seems more reasonable. Yeah.
They were like, no, you need to start.
Paddy, how are you going to remember what happened many decades
Let's write stuff down, though. Now, there was obviously monks and druids and all had it. Monks in particular that were on this island were, you know, like obviously
they were making their own class books.
Yeah. So there was a history of that. But again, I'm not sure, but there is something in my head that speaks to the whole... We didn't have many records, maybe either deliberately or
It does seem like a super mean thing to do, force us to keep records and then destroy them. Ha, Paddy, we've gotten you again.
Keep records of the land we've taken on you.
Yeah, exactly.
And their war crimes.
Sign this deed. But I mean, it is worth saying that sort of while this is going, like, we talk about European countries, but in this era, I know Ireland is part of Europe, but it's such a long stretch. Not the same way. And back then, exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Even further removed. A lot of Irish people don't class themselves as European at all still.
Yeah, which I think is somewhat reasonable. Like, I think.
I think if you were to actually, like we're in between Britain and America. And
Britain sort of left the EU.
Yeah,
you know,
like
I know it's technically in the continent.
We're like Celtic, and then there's like dashes of Anglo-Saxon and dashes of Viking. There's very little of like what you would associate as European. Yeah, because even Viking, like up in Sweden and all them, like they're not really European either. Like they're different again.
Because when you think of Central European, you've got the big,
When I think European, Germany, I'm thinking France, Spain, I'm thinking France, I'm thinking Italy, and Germany.
I think that's what most Americans would think when they consider Europe. Yeah, they're thinking of let's visit the Vatican, blah blah blah, like all that sort of stuff. They're not going like let's get fish and chip down by the Doneraile.
We're definitely getting more European.
Well, I think everywhere is getting so globalized at this stage that it's hard. Like everything's just a bit of everything now.
We're starting to like have our drinks outside in the summer and everything. So we're
with global warming, we're going to be the cool Europe when the rest of Europe burns. So that's exciting. But anyway, why do we talk about Europe? Because there were witch trials there within. So they primarily occurred in Europe, in kind of mainland Europe, between the 15th and 18th centuries. Obviously, you sort of know the drill with the witch trials. Did we? We didn't do Salem, did we?
No, not yet.
Okay, someday. Yeah. But basically, the gist of it is you get accused of practicing witchcraft for myriad reasons. They seem to be, like, she was looking at me, witch, whatever. It seemed very easy. There's a trial, and then there's punishment of individuals suspected of witchcraft, which often lead to executions. It kind of forms a double-edged sword, whereby, as we've seen some of the American ones, we tie the witch to a chair and put her into the lake, and if she gets out, she's a witch. none of them ever got out, to the best of my knowledge. So while the specific numbers vary by historian, it's estimated that a whopping 40 to 60,000 people were executed for witchcraft in Europe alone during this period.
That's mad.
So that's, you know, €400 period. It's quite a lot. The majority of the accused were women, and the most frequent targets were single, widowed, and just generally marginalized women rather. You'll see again in this, as we go down through the different cases, there's some stories which you would imagine mental vulnerability plays a real role here. Because if you think, my dad said this to me before, we were chatting about it before, and I was just saying, like, how did people survive without, you know, various medications and mental assistance or whatever? And he's just like, they always did. He goes, they were just weird back then. There was just odd people. There was less people and just odd people that you kind of, not that you avoided, but it was an accepted part of
a lot of yokels and the foreign people, and they would have been killed though. Like a lot of, like, you know, back then there was, you know, I want to say culture was probably a bit harder, you know.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair estimation.
I think there was probably a lot of babies that were probably killed on the QT. There was probably a lot of, like...
well, if you think that, like, it wasn't illegal to SA your wife until, like, 1970 or something.
Yeah.
And even, I think it was the child, we covered this in the Satanic Panic, and that was a more American phenomenon. But the child and family laws didn't really kick in efficiently till the sort of 70s and 80s, which is where all this stuff, they uncovered gruesome stuff that was happening within the family unit. You know, like obviously physical abuse, domestic violence, and then really horribly incest and stuff like that. So that's probably got us banned now, has it?
No,
are you allowed to say?
YouTube. Yeah.
You're allowed to say?
You're allowed to say incest is grand, yeah.
Go away, but you can't say...
No.
Go away. So you can't say SA, but you can say incest.
Probably.
That's mad.
I don't know.
YouTube. What is going on, man?
I'm not the YouTube spokesman, although it does seem like that sometimes.
I think they're probably going to let you just say anything you want now, though, are they? Because the way things are going.
Yeah, but back then, like, you had someone that Down syndrome is getting left in the woods, like, do you know what I mean?
This is
Sparta.
To be fair, there was a lot more. No, that was probably down to, you know,
but they didn't like, you know, they weren't, and as well, like,
you were talking about like the 15th century. I was talking about,
I'm talking about 95.
Okay, because I think there was a lot more.
Talking about 10 years ago.
I think there was like a lot more special needs kids on the go.
Yeah, but that's because medicine keeps them alive too, though.
Yeah, true, and then scans make you aware.
Scans and all.
You know,
I mean,
you're like, you sure you're wanting that? You sure?
No, but I mean, even as a thing of, like, you know, all of the health, like, people with, like, really bad chronic health conditions now are living longer than ever. Like, I know a person that has muscular dystrophy, and he's almost 40 now. The life expectancy when he would have been diagnosed was late 20s, I think. And that would be like,
medicine's just
evolving alive,
so fast.
And it's like, you know, he's like really exceeding expectation, and he's a modern marvel. But if he was born in Japan in the 15th century,
Harry Carey,
they would have put him in a little wheelbarrow with a horse and cart and brought him out into the woods.
I think that's what,
and left him off.
Their favorite way of getting rid of problematic.
They would have done though. Well, so that's the way it was back then.
And you know, sometimes you put a baby in a basket.
That's evolutionary,
in a stream. Well, we learn empathy and civility. And
no, that's not evolution. I'm talking about throwing people in rivers and all to keep the bloodline.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah. Like, I'm not talking about empathy, not fucking.
Yeah, no, you're talking about
I thought about keeping it real, like
survival of the fittest.
Keeping it
real. Yeah, I would be curious because nature does that as well. Like, do you ever see a cat litter where some of the cats are fucked up and the cat eats them?
Yeah, cat's like, get out here,
and it's like, you came from inside me and you will go back inside me. It's pretty metal, but the nature is like, nature doesn't mess. See that fucking fish? That it's like a parasitic fish that eats another fish's tongue and then just lives there
as its tongue.
Like,
lives as it
that's
lives
nuts.
Our life as its tongue.
And the other fish is like, suppose.
Imagine evolving to be that though. Like, how do you even think about that? Like, how does that even happen?
That fish is like consciously being
no, but like, how?
But I know what you mean.
How does nature go? Like, we're going to evolve to be a fish.
Do you know
that lives parasitically on the tongue of another fish?
Because it could have never made that sort of gambit to get there. What's interesting is, like, it either proves that there's some kind of design or totally disproves, because both like both options seem reasonable. Like a god made this to be like, it's a bit of crack, isn't it? Or just like, this is so unhinged that just happened.
Yeah. It's like that fish that swims up your Mickey.
Yeah.
Like, why does that?
And then he goes,
yeah.
Because
why
protect the Mickey at all. You have to be careful. Because I think like, probably I'd say a lot of women were giving out that we're just able to whip it out. Just need to piss, whip it out. It's fine. No weepies here or sheepies.
Weepy.
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 So yeah, maybe that was the thing. And so God decided, look, we need to get some fish destroying these lads' urethras because the women have it bad. They have to squat like animals.
It's outrageous, like.
It is. Ireland had fewer witch trials compared to other parts of Europe. The most notable witch trial is the Island McGee trial in 1711. So we'll talk about that one at the end. And the Kilkenny trial in 1324. And that is the first one. The Island McGee trial, I'm assuming I'm saying that right. Island McGee. That sounds so Irish. Tis Island McGee. So that was the last in Ireland. That actually involved 8 women and 1 man who were accused of bewitching a young woman. Pushing arses. And then the Kilkenny trial, which involves Alice Kyteller, but actually doesn't end. Well, we'll get into it. Right, okay. That's considered the first in Ireland.
Okay, right. So yeah, as Eamon said, like sometimes with these lesser known stories, you'll come across a really good resource, and the really good resource is someone who did an exhaustive amount of research in a really hard to find sort of subject matter. Yeah, and that just so happens to be Neve Boyce from the Ireland Examiner in this one. We've done that. There's been a couple of episodes where even myself, where I've looked for something and I'm like, oh well, there's even only one resource, and it's all really.
It's all there, and if you're going to talk about it, I think just
you kind of have to.
Because a lot of times, you like what I usually do is I'll open 4 or 5 tabs, and I'll just be taking things from various tabs. But sometimes, usually I'll have a 6th tab open that's floating kind of around the screen like a screensaver. Just
remember them? They all used to move around.
Do you remember how I used to love when it would bounce perfectly on the corner and bounce back, and I'd be like, oh.
Remember that was that York that used to advertise on porn sites? It was like you'd be able to download a girl that would walk around your screen. Do you remember that?
Oh, the little, yeah. Jeez.
Halcyon days.
Yeah, you can just imagine like you're desperately trying to turn off the monitor while your man comes in. Just a naked woman walking around the fucking hills of Athenry or whatever.
Yeah, the XP background. And there's just someone walking around. Yeah, good times, huh? So historically in Ireland, so-called witchcraft practices, old curses and customs were part and parcel of life. The supernatural wasn't demonized. We've talked about this before. We had a great episode with Tim, one of his first ones. I think it was a Halloween one. We talked a lot about this kind of thing. Disregard for the always was very strong. Even now it lingers on. When tragedy calls, a candle is lit as often as a kettle is boiled. Rituals, as well as visitations, and awareness of things like your fairy mounds, respect for hawthorns, all of that is still in existence. No one wants to cut down the tree in the middle of a field.
You don't want to cut down. You don't want to mess with the fairy tuft. And actually, that came up in the Dáil, wasn't it? Danny Healy. I know many a man. Taoiseach, and he got rid of the fairy tuft, and he never lived to tell anyone about it.
But it's true though. You will see.
I wouldn't get rid of a fairy tuft.
I wouldn't get rid of any of them trees. Like you see him all around the place.
Those trees by themselves.
Yeah, matter of fact, I can now. Sometimes I think. So there is the folkloric reason of like, they're a fairy tree or whatever the fuck. Mm-hmm. But I think sometimes though as well, it might be because they keep cattle in the field and they want a place for the cattle to keep cool
when it's raining or whatever,
or in the rain.
They go over.
So I think there's a little bit of that too.
One day, I was on a bus.
Oh yeah,
and I was making my way to Waterford from Dublin. I was on a train. It wasn't a bus. Excuse me. And there was a telegraph pole in the field. Right? And it was a hilarious thing to see. So a horse just had its arse. It was just standing there. And there obviously must have been like a mild vibration from the telegraph. But the horse was basically just wanking away with its arse to the telegraph pole. And it was just, you could see it there. The mane was just just being the groovy creep, having a great time with the vibrations of the telegraph pole. I believe it was in Kilkenny as I was on my way to Waterford from Dublin. It was very funny.
Do you ever see that one where all the poor cows get around the tree and a thunderstorm and the thunder hits the tree? Lightning hits the tree, kills them all.
All of them? Jesus. That's like some sort of cool Final Fantasy move.
It is, yeah. They're all dust. Right, so anyway. When tragedy is called, a candle is lit, as often as can be said that part. Now, along with, of course, the very solid tradition of celebrating Samhain.
Samhain, as we all know, the original Gaelic Samhain.
On November 3rd, 1324, Petronilla of Meath became the first woman. Now that is a witch named Petronilla. Yeah. She became the first woman to be burned at the stake for witchcraft in the British Isles. Well, excuse me, article. British Isles, me ballocks.
In the mainland.
In 1324, Bishop Richard Ledred.
That's a cool name for someone who kills witches.
It probably isn't how you say it, but I think it's better.
Ledred. Yeah, Ledred's cool.
He accused the dame, a wealthy merchant and moneylender, of leading a viperous sect of sorceresses. We like this. Gaining her considerable power from a demon lover. Sacrificing cockerels at the crossroads. That sounds like Azalea Banks. She does that.
Oh, that's right. You were saying she has chickens in the closet and all.
She goes around
cutting their gillets,
cutting roosters' heads off and all for the crack. Chanting over skulls filled with herbs, entrails, and dead men's nails, along with other demonic shenanigans.
Yeah, she's up to all that messing. Now, what you will notice there, and what's very interesting, is this is not a marginalized woman. This is a wealthy merchant. So she's
bored.
Well, we'll get into it, but I don't know if she actually was, and we'll get into like why was it that Ledred, which definitely probably isn't the way to say it, but you're right, it does sound cool. The dread. I'm gonna write a play, and Ledred is gonna be the principal antagonist. Ledred. Big Ledred.
There's a fighting game character writing it. Sounds of
Ledred's a cool name. Ledred. Have at thee, witch. So why did Ledred be at that? So the bishop was a Londoner, educated at the court of the superstitious Templar hunting Pope John the 22nd. When he arrived in Kilkenny, he brought these kind of ideas with him. Now the dame was on her fourth husband.
Good Lord.
Suspicion arousing. Her stepchildren from previous marriages accused Alice of manipulating their late father into leaving all his wealth to her oldest son, William. So this is back in the day, like nowadays you'd be going to court, the will, all that shit. Back then it was like Game of Thrones shit. This is like the 14th century.
Well, it wasn't that long ago that it was the oldest male.
That's true, yeah. And actually even some of my great relatives, so my mother's uncles and stuff, they would have got done out of stuff.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I just went to the oldest male. Even in my circumstances, my family circumstances, the husband was still alive. The woman died. She owned the house, but it went to the oldest child rather than the husband.
Sometimes isn't there cases where like women were kicked out of the houses?
Yeah.
Like the spouse of the husband that died would have been kicked out, and the eldest would take over the land. Yeah, the way it should be. No, of course not. It's really shitty though that like we're now the eldest and that's gone. Like I hate things that were unjust unless they worked in my favor. Then I'm into them.
They pulled the ladder up. They pulled the ladder up.
Just when I thought
they fucked us out of it.
Once again,
bastards.
Let down by the evils of society. Yeah, why are they getting woke when it's our turn?
World's gone mad. Can't even have a fucking will.
Can't even kick me ma out of the house and muck the pigs.
I had to deal with their shit for the longest. I should get the house. You know what I mean? That's why that rule came into place.
That's why I think I'm not sure if that shit longer. But if you got lucky to be the seventh son of the seventh son, then you got mad powers.
Did you? Yeah.
Seventh son of the seventh son, you'd be like, here, there's a bit of fucking Kanye. Put that in the poultice. Okay. So the disheartened children took their case to Ledred, claiming that Alice was poisoning her present husband, who was emaciated. His fingernails were dropping off. He had no hair left on his body. Ew. So any of you seen House of the Dragon, you know what that king looked like. He wasn't a king. Ledred took these allegations and added his own, which were much more fantastical and supernatural. He quickly deduced that Alice Kyteler gained her wealth and status from a male source, a demon called Robin, son of art.
No.
It's mad that like you could just make stuff up like that back then. And they'd just be like, yeah, it's grand. It's like nowadays just being like, sure, Zelensky's a dictator. Just say what you want. It's still true. It did not occur to Ledred that Coiteller might have acquired her wealth from her own efforts, and that she might be as clever, indeed, as ruthless as he. So the Coiteller case differs from many of the other trials in that the accused was a person of power and means. So you would be wondering, well, why did the bishop go after Dame Alice for this sorcery? And not some humble outsider, as so often is the case. There is, if you follow the money, you follow the money, you'll get to the end of the story.
That's how it happens.
So, a person found guilty of heretical sorcery would have their property seized by the church. There we go. Dame Coiteller's estate was considerable. So wealthy and well connected was she that the King of England was actually in her debt.
Bastard.
The Iron Bank. He owed her £500 at the time of the trial. Think about how much £500 is worth like 600 years ago.
A lot of money, man.
You know what I mean?
Like
if we had
a
saved... I'd love to have that £500
it's like
saved.
bitcoins.
Yeah. I wish I had a Bitcoin. Dame Coiteller's high status is fascinating. Had she not been accused by Ledred, there would be no record of this powerful medieval woman. And as you said earlier, that does make you wonder what records have been lost or what's been left outside of history, because it was just the status that actually made this newsworthy. Now, good news for the Dame Alice. She actually escaped.
Right.
Some say she escaped to England. We're not sure, but poor old maid Petronilla was not so lucky.
So it is interesting that back then they could just conjure up any old sort of lie. But one thing that is interesting, something that we should, as a feather for us in our cap to think about when we're thinking about these things, is the church. It was something that we've never really referenced on the pod before, but like even, and I was just thinking when you're talking about it, I was like, Loftus Hall was that family would have been one of the wealthiest in the areas. Yeah. Then I'm wondering that all the fucking plebs try and make up that they were all a bit mad to get fucking the church to seize the gaff, like.
Possibly, yeah.
You know?
When because is Loftus Hall family, is that before Henry VIII converts to Protestantism?
Yeah, it was Cromwell, so
yeah, it probably would have been before then. I think off the top of my head.
But then it was, I think the whole legend and all that was before the Cromwellian invasion. So I don't know, but I can't remember. Was it 1700 Loftus? I think it was. It's been 5 years since we did that episode, but it was around then.
I think you're right, Jess. So they were planters, but they would have been like, everybody would have been Catholic back then. There was no dissension from Catholicism.
No ridiculousness.
No messing around being like, it's not actual flesh though. Excuse me?
The right. So, like, Protestants, do they care about the Pope? That's a Catholic thing, yeah.
No. I'm sure they care about him in some sort of a way. I don't know what sort of figurehead they have. Like the Pope, to be fair, Pope Francis, I thought...
Cromwell.
Cromwell, yeah. Cromwellian. Known for his empathy.
I don't know who their figurehead is, no.
I don't know if they have one, do they?
Maybe
just
not.
Church of England.
It's a very Catholic thing to have a figurehead, even, let's be honest.
Well, Catholic, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like,
Messing. To
be fair, I know, obviously... Pope Francis has recently passed away.
Yeah.
He did seem to have more good vibes than previous popes before him. He was very accepting, it seemed to be, of
see that video I showed you where he's going around with Jesus?
Yeah, that was heretical. If you had means, you would have been taken by the...
Sure, it was real. That's real video, man.
It looks like a real video. Actually, it was sent by in a family group as well. Like me auntie just on a bottle of wine. Like, and then... Because some members of my family be fairly religious.
Oh, really?
Not my immediate family.
And did they find it disrespectful? Yes,
no one seemed to. I think they're just like, is that actually the Pope in heaven? Because it looks quite realistic.
For people that don't know what we're talking about, there was a video doing the rounds of an AI generated video of Pope Francis and Jesus
Christ. Mary makes an appearance as well.
It's kind of nice in a way.
I thought it was quite nice, and it was
Jesus taking selfies and all. I was going to send it to Brother Richard, but I was like, is that a bridge too far?
I think maybe that's a bit too familiar with a man you've had coffee with once.
I mean, Brother Richard sent memes to each other all the time.
Oh no, but I'm sure he would have enjoyed it. But again, it may be best to err on the side of caution there. Yeah. What do you think?
I probably don't know. He could love it.
Well, I mean, feeling now that we've brought it up,
TMNT,
across him.
You know?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, yeah.
So
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are cool.
yeah.
I
So
would have
that's what I'm
liked
saying.
if they made an appearance in that video also. Can you just make... Someone obviously just prompted AI to do that.
Yeah.
So-
It's a couple of different things going on at once to kind of get that result. But yeah, basically,
Pretty
long
much,
and short
right.
of it is, it's all generated by a dude in his bedroom having a crack. So,
What a guy.
which is why cinema is pretty soon is going to be absolutely fucked.
You can just make whatever story
That's
you
what I'm
want to, yeah.
It's just going to be totally fucked. Like,
It's me in a room.
everything is going to be fucked that way. Like, you can just generate whatever you want about whatever you want. It's like going to be just
And the thing will tell you a story you hadn't.
Yeah,
but
we
it's probably years off actually being good though.
it's not that fucking far. Because if you consider in the lifespan of this podcast, we had no AI, and now we have Jesus and Pope Francis
That's true.
flying around taking pictures with each other.
So you know the way we were talking about
Like
how
in
do you
5 years,
actually
probably
make
movies.
money off TV shows?
Yeah.
So like, if you think about it, it just generates bespoke TV shows for you.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like that means like it's all over. It's finished.
Yeah, like if I sit down and go, I like Yellowstone and I like Game of Thrones.
Please make me a television program that I can goon away to from morning to night. Gooning is cool. I didn't know why.
You're a
how-
gooner.
I wouldn't be a gooner.
Ah, you are.
No,
I
I wouldn't even look.
You're
at
an
porn.
old-fashioned gooner.
What's
you're
gooning?
a pioneer gooner.
I would have gooned back in the day for sure. We were all at it.
Yeah, yeah.
Everyone
Oh, I
was.
was a
You were a
gooner,
gooner, but like I wouldn't be gooning. Too old to be gooning now. But why wasn't it called gooning back then? Because it's a great word, and
That's
I
what I'm
feel like
telling
it's
you.
only
You're getting on to
recently
me
come
about picking
light.
up these new words. These new words are class. Gooning
Gooning
is
is very good.
Gooning is
I'm
class.
a fan of the word.
Yeesh is a
gooning.
great one as well.
Yeesh
like.
is pretty funny.
There's the
Yeah.
new words, man. I'm telling you, that these little fucking weirdos, Shed, fucking whatever the fuck's there. They've got good words, man. I'm telling you, they've got.
Gooning is a very good word
Yeah,
because it
goon.
perfectly captures what the man is doing as he leisurously views these videos.
Yeah, you are a gooner, like
I was a gooner.
still are.
Now I'm just a man that
you
doesn't
never lose
goon. A man who left his gooning
never
ways
lose
behind.
them. You never
You have
lose
to. I think the possibility to goon always exists within a man.
Oh yeah,
We were bad for gooning back in
Oh,
the day.
yeah,
I was thinking we would talk openly about
about
our
gooning,
gooning,
yeah.
our gooning habits.
it's like connoisseurs of gooning.
Yeah, like you've seen this one.
Yeah,
Oh, I
it
did
was,
something on the gooning over that late.
like, that's what I'm saying. We're pioneers.
We were pioneer gooners,
Yeah,
yeah. We were there when like the internet got fast.
Oh yeah. Well, let's go to Petronilla, see if there's any goon in her. Of Petronilla, we know little but her name, which is Petronilla's a candle, isn't it? That she was a mother and a maid of Dame Alice. Le Dread used torture to elicit a confession from Petronilla. Torture was not common in practice in Ireland, but Le Dread was uncommonly cruel in most respects, as one called Le Dread would be.
Le Dread.
The annals record the rest. On this, I think Acetalopram is doing what it did to your brain, where I'm starting to make up
Yeah,
words.
it was all laughing when it comes to
Your brain
Who's
just
the
makes up words.
bitch now? Yeah, no, your brain just does whatever it wants. It just
like,
goes.
oh, yeah.
If you want to be happy, the price is syllables. Like that's.
Here's just make up
It
words in
happens
your
though.
head.
Have you tried? Like, because obviously you wouldn't be
Yeah.
writing emails to
No.
the same level I would. Just
High
start
level
writing emails
emails.
and just see how many spelling
Oh,
mistakes you
yeah,
make. It's
okay.
unbelievable.
That could be getting old as well, though, right?
It could be. It
we are
started
getting
to happen
old.
to me when I was
The
your age. What age are you
deterioration.
now? 36?
36. I'm starting a nap.
Yeah. That'll come and go.
I think now Saturdays, every Saturday I nap. It's like nap day.
I had a little nap. I had a weird like
I sit
panic
I
attack
sit on the
nap
couch
on
like this and
Sunday.
go.
Yeah, like
Or no, actually, sorry, I go.
you put the head back.
With the mouth
mask
open. I'm supposed to, but I don't. I just
You're
go.
right too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a little panic attack
Yeah,
nap.
shit yourself.
I don't know for something. No reason. I gooned too far and
Gooning in your dreams.
oh no, I can't get these thoughts out of my mind. No, yeah, I just anxiety for no reason, and I was tired at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Went and had a nap. It was grand in an hour. Grand.
Gooned on the
I just
phone.
went residual
Gooned on the phone.
escitalopram, pram, whatever you're called. Come back, come to me now, escitalopram.
You had a quick goon. Set yourself right.
That, to be fair, if you are feeling down, if you're feeling a little vulnerable, a quick goon. Now, is there such thing as a quick goon, or is a goon always long? That's the question.
It depends. It is, and it's bullshit as well, because nowadays we're on Instagram and all. Like didn't it's funny, we did an experiment because I was talking about how we get targeted by the algorithm. So you know, you've got your discover page on Instagram or whatever. We've talked about it before. Mine is usually just ass and titties and all that.
Yeah.
So I thought like, oh, it's just because I'm a gooner and they've tailored it to me. So then I there's a thing you can do where it just resets it, like.
But it just goes back to ass and titties
and ass and all that. Yeah. It's like, this fella's like 36, so let's just bombard him with ass and titties.
And it's so, like, sometimes I look at like the women doing, I'm like, you fucking vacuous piece of shit. Like, it's just so fucking, but also I want to look at your ass and do, show me your tits.
This is reprehensible.
But it's so, like, it's so dumb. But there is, the goon, the inner goon comes out.
Dork.
Caveman dork.
It's just bullshit, like, you know. But there is like all them fucking other dorks, like all the Andrew Tate dorks and all that. They do the opposite. They're like, bro, you can't let yourself goon. You have to be strong. Don't let them trick you.
Sexually traffic girls across the globe.
Like, don't let them trick you. Can't simp, bro.
Yeah, so it's really sad that like your options are Goon or Andrew Tate. Like there's no in between.
To Goon or not to
Goon, or just to become a misogynist.
That is the question.
Do I love women so much that I goon, or do I hate women so much that I never goon?
It's tough.
I think you need to find the middle grounds. You need to have a real conversation with a human being.
Yeah.
Show me your kids.
Oh yeah, we're simple, like, and it just shows you how simple, like,
and how they can just wire your behavior.
Simple yokel men, like,
you go, oh, tits.
Let me have a browse.
Look at these tits. I'm in work. Oh look, I'm working from home. They don't know about the tits.
Time to goon.
Time to goon. It is horrible. I wish women could just understand what that drive is like. Yeah. And I feel that you and me have a fairly good handle on that drive. Yeah. I've seen dudes destroy their empire for like garbage. But I would like women to know what that biological drive is like.
We have two brains and only enough blood to handle one at a time. And unfortunately,
a man who could had blood for his brain and his penis, but only one at the it's a travesty. Gooning is gooning. Imagine trying to talk your child out of gooning. You can't.
No.
Stop looking at that. But why? Good question, son.
Biology algorithmically targeted.
Yes.
But what we'll do is we'll get back to Petronilla.
We probably should.
And Evil the Dread.
Yeah. In a episode that's meant to sort of lift up women who are wrongfully persecuted, we probably should stop talking about gooning.
Maybe that'd be a good idea.
Does anyone want to edit these? Actually, no, we'll leave them as they are.
The annals record the rest. On this day, a certain woman was consigned to the flames and burned. It was the first time death by fire, Dracarys, was inflicted by heretical sorcery in Ireland, making Petronilla of Meath the first woman to be burned at the stake for witchcraft in Ireland. A mysterious case followed in 1578, also in Kilkenny City, in which two witches were tried and executed. Almost nothing is known about that trial. There are no more recorded cases in Ireland until 1661 and the trial of Florence Newton in Cork.
Yeah, so
good Irish name.
Florence Newton. Florence Newton. Yeah, she came in from the other place, from the mainland.
I love all them old names and shit.
This is an example of a lady who I suspect suffered with her nerves at the time. Her mental health was probably...
Do you reckon they were throwing like lesbians and all on the fire and all back then?
Well, this one's going to show you a bit of that. Now, when I wasn't trying to say that lesbianism was a mental illness, I was trying to say it seems, if when you read this, that she was probably a little bit...
lesbian.
And also a little bit mental.
Right.
But not that there is crossover there in any way.
Florence, an elderly woman, called the Puritan John Pine's household to beg for food. Though it was Christmas, his maid Mary Longden refused her and sent her away, muttering darkly, what country are we in? John Pine and Mary Longden and Florence Newton.
I don't think these
what
people...
in the name of Christ?
You wouldn't have poor
and this is coming
beggars
from someone called Billington. What the fuck country is that?
I don't think you'd have beggars coming from the UK, right?
I would do, oh god, yeah.
Is that we're back then where people like Ireland is full, we're getting UK beggars, they're living off the land?
No, I'd say anywhere, man. You know, the same as anything. There was probably slaves and all brought over, sure.
Yeah,
you know
possibly.
what I mean?
But
Like,
poor old Florence was having a rough time of it.
So, Florence, he went around, they turned her away. When they later crossed paths, Florence grabbed the maid and kissed her. Ooh, Mary, I pray let thee and I be friends, she said, for I bear thee no ill will, and I pray thee do thou bear me none. She just wanted a bit of les.
So generally she's saying, let's just be sound to each other, yeah.
Let's just let us off.
I wonder how bad lesbians are for gooning. Goon.
Pretty bad.
Goon.
I'd say.
Goon.
Yeah, I don't know though. Yeah, I don't know.
Most goon.
Yeah, you'd wonder about that.
The part of your brain, it's time to goon.
I'd say, like, yeah. I think, yeah. Women in general, are they gooners? Not as much.
Goon over men. I look at some fitness stuff, and every time you see lads six pack, like, how does he get a six pack like that? I'm not sexually attracted to it. Yeah, it seems to be a lot of steroids.
Yeah, mainly.
I have 5% fat.
Yeah. So they were shifting anyway.
Well,
Florence Newton would pay dearly for her desperate gesture. Shortly afterwards, Mary began having fits and visions. She believed that Florence's kiss bewitched her.
Yeah, it can happen.
She also claimed to be afflicted by falling stones and to have begun to vomit pins, nails, wool and straw. Yikes. Strangely, the elders of their community supported these claims, going so far as to testify that Mary floated up into the rafters.
So now she's levitating and your one is doing general... that book, The Right, people getting exercised, like getting vomit up, pins and all sorts of shit.
Abracadabra.
I wanna reach out and goon you.
Reach out and les off.
Oh Lord.
Strangely, yeah, we did that. The case was brought to trial in court. Mary took a fit and continued until Florence was removed from the room. The mayor ordered that the old woman be imprisoned in Youghal jail. What's up, y'all? Here, in scenes that evoke a late night horror film, the old woman was tested till she bled by Valentine Great Rakes, an ex-Cromwellian turned healer known as the Stroker, king of the Gooners. The final boss.
It's amazing, like how this stuff just sets itself up.
Yeah.
We talk about gooning for ages, and then the man's name is the Stroker.
Bram Stroker, there you go, son. Valentine Great Rakes.
Valentine Great Rakes.
These motherfuckers are just making up names back then. Like,
this is probably all just AI
like,
fever dream nonsense.
That's apparently what people are doing now, is using AI to generate like song lyrics. So like artists are just like, I can't be arsed writing song lyrics. I'm just going to use AI.
Can AI make?
And they just sing.
Yeah, my diode enjoys.
Yeah, just like
the voltage.
Write me lyrics like a Nirvana song, and you'll get lyrics like a Nirvana song, and then
you just tailor them up a little bit.
Amos getting brainwaves now for that.
I always enjoyed. No, I always enjoyed writing the lyrics.
Did you? Yeah.
Not trying to be like a mad fella and all, but you just you have syllables to use. Like when you write lyrics, I always do the melody first and then put the lyrics around the melody, so you have syllables. So you have like I have 8 syllables to use here. Does that make sense?
I am a gooner.
I am.
I like to pull my willy.
Gooner. But I like to edge. Is that what an edgelord is? Or is he
edging is a lad that is wanking until he just about a jib and then he stops.
Yeah, do you ever do that?
No.
Do you ever have like a long goon session where you just be like...
Sometimes I'll goon and just put the phone down. Exercise, you know.
How do you mean you goon and you just have a wank? That's what you're talking about.
I wank until completion.
Sometimes I put the phone
down. No. I will look at stuff and I'll just go, no, I want to be at myself now. I won't be at myself today.
I know. Once I've seen it, it's already too late.
I've seen everything.
No, but I think what you're doing is you're almost like flirting with yourself for later.
You're chicken with your Mickey.
You're looking at it and you go, if not now, then when?
So long since I felt your embrace.
Yeah, the stone grip of myself.
The stroker, sure, the man himself. Eamon the Stroker O'Neill.
Bram Stroker.
Yeah, it was believed that witches were. We should actually like write a Bram Stoker book about this whole story.
Like some of those ones, the vampire who sucked his own cock. It's just about
Cautionary tale.
It's a book about like a vampire gets
Cautionary
into the
tale.
attic and makes loads of noise trying to suck his own dick.
It's a cautionary tale about self-indulgence.
Don't spoil yourself, lads. It's a bad idea.
You know, you're a vampire and you use your power.
Use
on
your
other
power
people,
for yeah,
not on yourself.
not to suck your own dick. Come on.
So it was believed that witches were incapable of uttering the Lord's Prayer. When ordered to recite it, Florence fumbled over some words. I'm old and have bad memory, she pleaded.
Classic
I've taken
witch energy.
escitalopram. I can't read.
I can no longer read.
No, it is known that Florence died at this juncture, though neither the final verdict or the cause of death were recorded. Em, would you believe? It is likely that the woman did not survive her punishing ordeal. What an ordeal.
By the stroker.
By the stroker.
Ha! Florence, the stroker arrives, ready to grant you your penance.
He enters the jail cell and wanks. And
Just
walks
looking
off.
at a Nokia.
He wanks until almost completion and then goes off.
Yeah.
And then comes back in and does the
You
same
just
thing.
people get so fed up of waiting for him to come, they just die of boredom.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Poor Bram
Anyway,
Stoker.
lads, you'll be happy to know that we're at the last witch trial. So
Sorry about that.
yeah, I knew this would happen. I knew as soon as we had a semi-serious episode, we could just go mad.
We'll have to just title it something so that people looking for the actual topic don't find it.
Yeah.
We'll call it the Stroker.
The Goonies. The Goonies is good. All right. The year is 1710, and that brings us to the Presbyterian community of Island McGee in County Antrim. The household of James Haltridge, where the new servant, Mary Dunbar, good Catholic, is claiming to be strangely molested by spirits and witches. Stop it now. We've talked about gooning enough. I came across this video. On the night of her arrival, trouble began. Aprons went missing and were found knotted with the flannel cap of James's dead mother-in-law wrapped inside. These mysterious knots were thought to bode evil. Mary had fits and a violent vision that night. In it she saw women, witches, who were the cause of all the suffering in the house. She gave their names, describing older local women, and they were rounded up. Mary, it was said, fell into a fit when they were brought near the house. Unbelievably, based on a girl's vision, the mayor of Carrickfergus issued a warrant for the arrest of 8 of these women. During the trial, Mary described how during her fit, one of the witches twisted her tongue and tore at her throat with crooked fingers and swollen knuckles.
Shit.
Oh, shit. One of the women was called to the bar to show her hands and her joints, which were distorted as described. So this is a poor old woman who has rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah, probably.
And this was used to condemn her. Echoes of these moments in which Florence Newton tried and failed to recite the Lord's Prayer. So they were given similar sort of a thing to do.
Oh, she was given fair chance, you know.
Yeah, she goes, your
couldn't
knobbly
recite it.
fingers have condemned you.
She couldn't recite it.
But to be fair, if you knew you were going to get killed and you had to say the Lord's Prayer, can you even remember the Lord's Prayer? We shouldn't say it on the podcast because that'd be blasphemy.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. What is it?
See, you're dead.
Jesus, I've thought
You're dead.
Jimmy and Jesus are fine.
No. I mean, if you know, in the hypothetical AI generated content that you were trying to get out of being accused of being a witch, you'd be dead there because he fumbled. He dropped the ball. Master Billington, you are a warlock.
I think of.
Stop saying the Lord's Prayer in the podcast. We can't be talking about gooning and then say the Lord's. It's fucked up.
We're sure. Are we not the creation of all that? So Goon is.
I never asked to be created, Lord.
Goon is just part of nature.
Goon is part of nature.
Yeah.
To be fair, like, say what you want about gooning, but some of the best times of my life have been hardcore goon sessions.
Yeah, no.
It's a big problem. I listened to a Soft White Underbelly about a fella who was wanking 4 times a day, every day, 4 times.
Yeah, he's probably on crystal meth.
And I said, these are amateur numbers.
Yeah, it was Sapphire Underbelly, so he's probably on crystal meth or something.
No, this fella was actually he was just wanking a lot.
That was it. That was
Yeah.
off. Jez, is
4
he's run
times
out of
a day.
content or something then, is he?
He must have talked
he's
to
got
all
lads.
the mad lads.
Yeah.
But so this fella's, he's
Next
like,
week it'll
how
be
many
someone
wanks do
who,
you have?
like-
He was like 4. He's like, you have a problem, John, talk to me.
Next week it'll be someone who forgot to pay their phone bill or something.
When did you know you were in arrears?
An hour long black and white video. Yeah, I mean, what? That's you're gonna do a video of someone who wanks 4 times a day. What's that about? Like that. There's what's wrong with you?
Just like the look of conviction in your face. You're gonna do a video about someone who wanks 4 times a day. Sure. Why not do a video about the lad who does the shopping? Like,
But seriously, it's like I think now as a society we're getting a bit silly, like where it's like, oh no, I've got this big problem, I keep wanking. It's like, just stop wanking.
but to be fair, there's
it's not even
wanking.
content.
You could
like,
knock 4. Yeah,
it's
that's
not,
true.
like,
Barely content.
it's not
You could
content.
knock 4 out a day.
It's almost a joke.
But if you're goon sessioning 4 times a day, that's half a day's
No, I
work.
get it. Like, it's problematic fucking behavior. Like, but like, so I was going down to the bookies and putting bets on every fucking day of the week. But like, that's not on Soft White Underbelly. So why is
I think he does have some gamblers on it.
no? But like,
Just a lad putting a few.
So let's do the
just a
exchange.
bit of harmless.
Yeah, that's what I'm
gooning,
gonna say.
Mark.
What's the exchange rate between gambling and wanking 4 times a day? Like,
That's
what's
true,
the
yeah.
equivalent?
Well, would you rather lose €100 on a horse or wank 4 times a day?
I've always got to rather wank.
You'd have to pace yourself. Like, would you get up a
4
little bit
times is
early?
grand. You'd manage it. You'd manage it if you wanted. Like, if you were doing
How, in your career, would you
If you
done
were-
4 times? I know lads
in
who
my
said
career-
they've hit like 7s and 8s.
as a young fella, probably. Yeah.
I don't. I never managed to hit numbers like that.
Really?
I was like the
wrong with you?
most I
What's
ever. I
wrong
think it
with
was
you?
3 or 4. Like,
Yeah, 4. You literally just said.
yeah, but this
4.
man was doing it every day for years.
All right.
He was destroying his scrotum.
Was he like? Was that what the was?
No,
the,
there was
his
no
Mickey falling
medically.
off?
He was clean bill of health.
Sure, there's just what I'm
Just
saying.
gooning, like.
If he's not bothered, no.
But he was
what's wrong
like,
with him?
yes, but I didn't. But I think like when
Why was he annoying himself? Like,
I think
enjoy
Mark,
it?
I think Mark said like, I'll give you a load of money if you talk about wanking and all. How has this episode come to this?
it was your fault.
It wasn't. You literally started talking about gooning and brought us down
Oh,
this
you were like,
winding road.
You went,
down
I
the
loves
garden
looking at arses and all on.
Yeah, and then
Instagram.
you said gooning, and that's a funny word. And then it all just went from there. Gooning is a great word. Mary, it was said, fell into a fit when they were brought near the house. Unbelievably, I've already read this.
Yeah.
Also in the court, there were feathers, cotton, yarn, pins, buttons, domestic objects rendered uncanny by the story Mary had spun around them. The prisoners had no lawyer to defend them. They denied the accusations. One called God to witness that she was being wronged. There was no evidence against the women. It was only based on Mary's visions.
True.
And Judge James McCartney sentenced them to 1 year. As they were tried under Irish law, the sentence was jail. Had they been tried under English law, they would have certainly hanged.
Bastards.
Mary herself died 3 weeks after the trial, but not before accusing one more person, this time a man, of bewitching her, thus bringing those convicted by her visions to 9. To this day, none of the victims of this injustice have had their names cleared.
It's true. So let's go into the future here. In 2011, historians Victoria McCullum and Andrew Snedden began a project to collect and review sources of commentary on the case. I'm sure theirs is as highbrow as our coverage on the whole thing has been.
Maybe.
Snedden notes the lack of official sources and sparseness of other contemporary records. This is what, again, as we said at the start of the episode, this is the kind of thing that we run into a lot when we're doing episodes, is like, you get a topic, like someone will say a topic, or you'll find a topic and you're like, that sounds cool, I'll go and do an episode, and then you're like, oh, there's like
not enough.
there's
Yeah.
one page on
We
this,
had to talk
on
about the
internet.
geography of Antarctica for like 15
Yeah.
minutes.
But it's
last
not
week.
even that, like, it's not even that, you know, you have to do anything, but it's like, it's just that sometimes, like, within our format, certain stories just, you might need to put in a bit
and
more
the other
to
side,
address it. Like,
as we've said, we're both working full-time.
Full-time bastards.
We can't.
Gooning.
Yeah. Man. Actually, one of the best things I can do is maintain work. Like, if we were to ever if we just had
rank.
the podcast, like, oh, you have loads of money from the podcast now. Now you can do proper research and stuff. And I'd just be like, Rob, I have to go to rehab for gooning.
yeah, it could be a blessing and a curse, alright.
It's nice to fall off the wagon every now and then.
Yeah.
Every now and then,
18 manx.
Miss is gone for a few days. Just fall off the Gooning wagon, go mad.
It's not the same.
Don't know what's going on. It doesn't hit. It hits different now that you're older.
It's not the same anymore.
You know, things hurt.
Yeah, chapped. So he claims that Mary Dunbar was making up the whole thing, basically.
Yeah.
And that she learned the part of a demonic. What? That word doesn't make sense to me.
Sure. Demoniac.
Demoniac? From accounts about Salem or Scotland, or someone told her about it. Remember, this was a time when people were pouring in from Scotland. The bastards.
Ireland is full.
Bastards. Scotland actually...
we did the same to Scotland, though, didn't we? There was a back and forth.
I think we were returning the favour, though. I think Scottish weren't remembered well.
You've gooned under our women for long enough.
We're like Celtic brothers in many ways.
I know. I think the Scots and the Irish were always pretty decent to each other. Until we weren't.
No, they weren't.
I watched the movie Braveheart.
No, they fucking weren't.
No, we weren't.
Sure, most of the Black and
Celts weren't good to each other anyway.
But most of the Black and Tans were Scottish.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know that.
Most of the lads up north, during the Troubles and all the guards up there would have been Scottish. A lot of Scottish. I've heard anecdotes of like, the Irish families like that were in occupied areas, like they were always hoping for the English guards because the Scottish were such fucking bastards.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So it's interesting that we are very close, but also very distant.
If only the Scots had spent more time gooning, they may not have been as vicious.
Should have followed William Wallace by, that's all I'd say.
Yeah. Freedom.
Never mind all that. Now look at just a lot of Protestants.
Yeah.
Where's that going to get you?
Not to transubstantiation, only consubstantiation.
No, we love the Scottish.
We do.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one's which anymore.
What?
They just believe all
Protestant
the parts.
Catholic.
They believe all the parts of Catholicism except the bits
Protestant
that are
makes
stupid.
more sense. Like,
yeah, definitely.
As a Catholic, I would say that. As a former, a lapsed Catholic, Protestantism makes more sense.
I agree.
It's just more sensical. If I was probably to get back into religion, I don't think I'd be going down the Catholic.
Nail Martin Luther's 96 thesis to the door. 95 or 96? 90 anyway.
69.
2 more paragraphs.
I think a 69 thesis.
Can we make it?
Yeah.
Without gooning? Will we goon before the end of the show?
So Martine and Devlin wrote a 2014 novel based on the case. Devlin proposed erecting a memorial to the 8 women. Traditional unionist. Wow.
Yeah, this shit kind of annoyed me.
Jack McKee objected to the plaque because he said it would become a shrine to paganism.
Imagine in 2014.
He's a unionist.
A goonionist.
Imagine. Yeah, but you can say that about any of that stuff. You can go, imagine now.
It is mad though, isn't it?
Unionist. Just imagine, just put that before it.
Do they still want, is there many of them that still want the 26 counties, or are they just like...
I think it's just like, leave us alone.
Yeah.
Now.
Which fair enough, it's been that way a couple of 100 years. But there's none of them that are like, march south.
No, I don't think so. That'd be quite funny though.
That would be funny.
That'd be like,
it might be welcomed.
Sooner that.
Yeah, I'd be like, we get to get rid of
it.
our current political party. Yeah, sound.
I was a bit disappointed actually when I found out that Jim McDonald off Coronation Street was a unionist. It was a bit of a shame.
There's a few more unionists, and as a Northern Irish man, you mean, rather than just one of the people in Coronation who was a unionist. He gave Liz an awful time.
He did.
He battered poor Liz.
Yeah, I like Jim though. Something about him.
She was, I remember gooning over her actually as a younger man. She used to
had a bit of a saucy tart.
She had a bit of a saucy tart. She wasn't just pulling pints behind that bar, you know. It was those big black cats. Like she had the jaguar print. Do you know she always had like a leopard sort of exotic animal top and big tits.
Yeah, the exotic animal top,
the exotic animal top. Something about a woman wearing the colours of a wild cat to drive a man wild.
That's why you went over to Brazilian. They all wear wildcat colours.
Yeah, she does have a cheetah. She does have a cheetah dress. She does have a cheetah dress, yeah. She has a cheetah dress. That thing's seen better days.
Cheetah belt.
Cheetah belt.
Oh, yeah.
She has macaca bras.
Oh,
Macacos are monkeys.
yeah. Oh, monkey bras.
Monkey bras. Skin the monkey and
right.
make ample my bosom.
Cool. So, so we're talking about Jim McDonald and his trying to pay.
I'm surprised we haven't talked about Jim McDonald on the podcast yet, to be fair.
I think we should.
I'm just sad that
more.
it came up under such bad circumstances when we've gone goon wild on this episode.
To tell you how ridiculous, before we finish this episode, how ridiculously stupid this podcast can be. Like, so I can't get into specifics, funnily enough, and I can't even really talk about, as I told you earlier, the things that I had to do. I can't even talk about stuff.
Yeah.
But
all
basically what it means
they'll
is,
regret this.
basically, I was like, this episode might be a good episode to use for X
We're gonna have
cool
to like
thing in the
record
future.
this again.
But then I'm like, but it just, we've derailed this probably worse than like our last year's worth of episodes.
But we always do this when we have an episode that's
like,
full of good
yeah.
content. It's like, this is a really good one to show, blah, blah, blah. And then we just
Forget
go,
it.
but what if
Forget
we
it.
just did whatever we wanted?
Jim
though?
McDonald.
What if I just went to work and sprayed my boss with the fire extinguisher? That's us as an employee.
It is. So a plaque was eventually unveiled by Mid and East Antrim Borough Council at the Gobbins Visitor Centre in March 2022. The Gobbins
The
proposed.
loyalists have odd naming conventions, don't they?
Weird.
Oh, get up to the goblins.
The Gobbins.
The goblins.
The proposed line, today the community recognise your innocence, was omitted from the inscription after the unionists got at it. I'm just not even going to bother like commenting on
It is so
what the
ridiculous though
unionists
that like
say.
in 2022 and
Just
2020
some-
that unionists are like, don't say that they weren't witches. Definitely don't say those women that were killed for
Best
being
thing you
witches
do
weren't
when you
witches.
read anything about unionists is you do that is you close the
close
book and you go, go away.
Time for bed.
Don't want to listen to you. So that was a good one.
To be fair, I think it was a good representation of what this podcast is all about. Alarmingly so, which is actually giving me pause to think, should we continue doing this or should we just do something different? Because this is fucking stupid shit. This is some of the stupidest shit we've done. I was coming out here, I was the right fella. I was like, oh, the notes, and they're very good, and they bring you through our discuss. Gooning.
Yeah, Monster Goon hour.
Destroyed by gooning once again.
Up the Gooners.
For the second time in my life.
Yep. So yeah, we'll leave that there. You know all about the Irish witch trials now.
Jim McDonald and gooning and Paola's monkey bras. Like, how does this happen? How do these things happen?
Yeah. Oh, it's fun.
I'll take a clip round the ear now if she hears this. I'll take a clip round the ear.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't think do our loved ones want to hear about us gooning all the time.
I think
Probably
now
not.
that they live with us, I think it was different when they didn't. They'll think maybe it was funny to listen to their wayward minds grow sour live.
Now it's gotten old.
Now she's just. I recorded a song with buddies of mine over the weekend,
so
just a
I don't
little
care.
demo, and I was like, "Listen to this, it's good. It's 2 minutes, and it has all the beats of a song. Like we, it's pretty good." And she was just like, "Grand, yeah." Grand. And then I said it like Kevin was like, I was like, "What's your mystery?" He was like, she just said like, "Yeah, fine," and he was like, "Oh, thanks for nothing." Like, they just don't care.
We're at that age, Eamon, where you know
You can't once
no one cares.
no one cares. That's very true.
It's true. No one cares.
That is true. No one cares what anyone does anymore.
No, you're just.
It's like you're really only if you do anything artistic, you're really just doing it for yourself. Really,
Yeah,
aren't you?
yeah.
You're just except this
but
podcast.
you have to ask yourself, like, yeah, you do have to ask yourself, why are you putting yourself out there anymore?
Well, see, we're not. We're just rating.
Well,
songs
we're just doing
together.
what we're always doing.
Yeah, we're just fucking morons. Like, why?
I
would
put
you
myself
bother?
out there all the time. I don't care. I'm like the opposite. I'm just like, whatever. Put it out. Who cares? I literally don't even think about it once it's out there.
Yeah, I know with
For
the
better or
podcast,
for
I don't
worse.
care. No, well, I know in the mini fuzz people were
yeah.
asking about, do we get like this is the kind of episode where it's worthy of praise, but also worthy to be torn down, taken off the internet, and never allowed back on. And that's
duality of man.
the duality of man. Oh, what a tangled web we weave. With our
McDonald.
existence on this podcast is a tightrope.
Yeah.
Jim McDonald, to be fair, I would like to do an episode on Jim McDonald.
We can do.
Unionist extraordinaire, Jim McDonald.
Yeah.
His sons, Steve,
Yeah, it
and
was
the other one.
whimsical.
Do you remember who was the other one?
Yeah, the blondie fella.
Steve and
Yeah. Barry or something, is it?
Barry.
Something like that. I love how I love how they just rob as a unionist that beats the shit out of his wife. It's like, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. And
Like,
at the
Jim.
time, that was like courageous storytelling.
Yeah.
Because beating your wife was
Yeah, true,
fine.
yeah.
Like, but it was something no one talked about.
Yeah, true.
I'd say, I'm not watching that Coronation Street anymore.
Remember in EastEnders they had your man that went mental and he was wearing tinfoil hats and all thought the UFOs were going to get him?
No, I didn't
I
really
remember
watch
that.
much EastEnders. Was
Yeah.
it Danny Dyer? He's in EastEnders.
No, it was before that. It was
That's
your
his real
90s. Like, he went, your man in it, like, he went mad. Like, but he thought the aliens were going to get him and all. He was locked in
Was
his
this like
apartment.
when Mulder and Scully were really popular? Yeah.
And he was, I can't remember his name. God love him.
No. What was his story? Jack Duckworth.
No, it wasn't Jack.
Surely
he was
not
in the other
Jack.
one. Wasn't your man's out of Emmerdale, the Dingles.
Oh yeah,
Wasn't
the bad seeds
No,
around
no, it
town.
was in EastEnders. I can't remember his name, but he went mad. I must have a look. Apparently it was groundbreaking at the time because it depicted paranoid schizophrenia, basically.
They were like,
Laughing at it.
better not. Yeah, we better not talk about this.
Yeah.
Don't show any more of Jim McDonald baiting his wife. Did Jim used to drink a lot, or was he just into vibing?
He was an
We
alcoholic.
talked
as well.
about this. Yeah, he was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
I'd say
Alcoholic,
there's
bet
a
his
lot of
wife,
crossover
kind of
between
Irish caricature.
alcoholism, gooning,
Yeah, but he was an he was a
unionism,
caricature.
and domestic abuse. There's a good
He was
crossover.
he's, you know, kind of Irish as a character, so they had to make him
Hmm.
alcoholic, like, naturally.
That's fair. I mean, the alcoholic stuff will take.
Speaking of Gooning, though, and
all right.
you mentioned the X-Files there. What's her name? Gillian
Scully.
Anderson. Aging like a fine wine, to be fair to her.
Asian like a fine
Asian
wine.
like a fine wine.
Yeah. I'm not getting involved in these gooning talks anymore. Gooning talks have ended.
She was thrown into my Goon algorithm recently enough, and I was like, oh, yeah.
AI Scully. I didn't like her when she was
same.
Scully.
That's what I'm saying.
Because I think, do you know what it was, man? We came up in the 90s.
Yes, we did.
Hair wasn't puffy no more.
No.
So when we were seeing women, they had slick,
Yeah.
probably gelled or moosed hair. They had some sort of stuff going
that's
on.
an interesting
Dreadlocks,
observation.
things like that. And when I see big hair,
That's
I'm
an
like,
inter- that's an
what the
interesting
fuck is this shit?
observation.
But when I see cool dreadlocks, it makes me get down on
the
my knees
awakening
and
of the
beg
Goon-
for buttermilk.
The awakening of the Goon in me would have been like back then.
WWE.
Yeah, no,
WWF.
if we're talking musical, like a bit of Natalie and Brule, you know.
Oh yeah. Nothing torn. Nothing in me felt torn. I knew exactly what was going on there.
Yeah, that's about it. No,
It was funny though, like for a period of time, like if you were gooning to music videos.
yeah.
Like a lot of
Spinning around Kylie Minogue,
oh yeah.
spinning around on me, Mickey.
If you buy Did you name them as you were doing it?
Yeah.
I think I had Maya. Did she do
Oh yeah.
if you buy this record your life will be better?
Yeah.
If you pull your Mickey, your life will be better. It is
Christine
funny.
Aguilera, dirty.
Oh,
Mickey.
stop. Just Mickey or Dirty Mickey. Yeah, I couldn't believe that was the actual music video when I first saw it.
I was like, what is
get out of
this?
here, red man. I can't see your
Exactly.
scene.
We need the no red man cut.
That was
Maybe that's what you can do with AI now is you can get rid of fucking red man out of that
fucking rid
video.
on all the rest of them.
You
more
ain't
oil.
party.
More oil. Yeah, that was ridiculous. But like that was just even like hit me baby one more time is like what executive came
Hit
like
me,
she
Mickey, one more time.
said two more hit me Mickey two more times. But like who came up with that? They're like put this 16-year-old girl in like just in school will make her really sexy. Like it's I don't think you get away with acting like that. No, the behavior is like pederast.
Yeah, there was. I think there was a time where there was kind of weird creepiness that was very much normalized in that kind of way. A lot of those netball babies were kind of groomed almost into being. There's a lot.
Is this like the ones who were in the Disney Club or whatever they got? Yeah, because like Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, they were all. The other one, Gosling, but he didn't do music. He got.
I think he can sing and dance though.
Can he?
He was too cool.
I can sing. I can dance.
He did Barbie. He was good in that.
Yeah,
Barbie
he's
was
good. He's been in some good films.
Ken.
I don't really know which of these actors is like good or not, to be honest with you. I don't know what's a good actor. Like I just don't know what's a good actor. Like some of the best actors you have the likes of Jack Nicholson and stuff, but like
Jack Nicholson,
he just plays Jack Nicholson. Yeah, that's what I mean. But so many like
but
even
he's good though.
Al Pacino, like
Al Pacino's a fucking cunt.
You're a fucking.
I want a fucking goon.
Willem Dafoe.
Bitch.
Willem Dafoe actually, to be fair, is a bit more dynamic, but he still has the same.
He does. Before he's got a goon habit himself, I'd say. With that being
horny Norman Osborn.
It's true. I'm somewhat of a goon myself.
Horny Norman Osborn. I'm somewhat of a goon myself.
Oh fuck. Fuck's sake.
This is dumb. You have to stop doing the podcast.
Yeah, we do. It's time. There we go.
That's it now.
We're good now.
Join the Patreon.
We'll leave it there.